I guarantee we will not be here on January 21st, 2016.
We are.
You don't just put a couple blocks in there. They need to be connected across 2 or 3 beams. So the blocking fills it for compression, and then this plate, which will probably mill down to about not even 3/4.
So I'm a very good puzzle person. If you need me, I'm happy to drive up here.
It's a 15-minute repair. We just blew them off, cleaned this up with the table saw, and cut these pieces out.
What it takes to rewire a boat.
Okay, so this is all of our stuff here.
I don't like drilling holes in deck beams. You know, you remember those big holes back here? We had to sister these deck beams.
January 21st? Something like that?
Correct.
January 21st, 2015. I guarantee we will not be here on January 21st, 2016.
We are.
What you working on right here?
Well, we're doing the blocking up on the bow.
Bow blocking.
Well, we're doing a little bit of everything, but to stay out of Dave's way, Dave. Putting the blocking under
the blocking?
where the winches, goes.
Right.
Yeah, I got the 2 pieces fitted. Now we're gonna make, this is the plate that goes underneath it. Because on a windlass, you know, all the force is forward,
Okay.
like a twisting motion. So you don't just put a couple blocks in there. They need to be connected across 2 or 3 beams. So the blocking fills it for compression, and then this plate, which will probably mill down to about not even 3/4.
Okay.
We'll span the whole thing, and then you can do anything you want with that windlass.
Yeah, okay. So that's at the new spot where we're gonna put the windlass?
Well,
We haven't really decided yet, have we?
well, Dave and I have talked about it fairly extensively, and it looks like we're gonna put it more on a center line.
Put more in the center, okay.
Yeah.
In the king plank though? No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And to the deck there, between the decking, the sub plank, the blocking, and the plate will be right at 4 inches thick.
Okay.
I think
So it'll be in the same location as the old windlass, just in deck?
slightly different, but pretty much the same.
Just more forward?
Yeah, so we can move it around like this, fore and aft. And I haven't seen the actual bolt pattern. There's probably 5 or 6 bolts.
Well, we haven't picked it yet, have we?
Oh yeah.
You picked the windlass?
Yeah, Dave sent me some drawings of it.
Oh.
First you heard of it.
First me heard of it.
You never throw anything away. This is what we're going to use for the plate underneath the foredeck.
Well, we're putting everything back together, or getting there, so there's lots of little pieces.
Beautiful, I see.
Pieces that need gluing.
Oh, let's check it out, yeah.
It's basically a cover board.
Nice. Try to save as much of that as
Or
possible.
yeah. And we kind of have it mocked up, how it went, everything up there, so
Oh, okay.
getting our measurements and stuff, seeing what's gonna work, what's not gonna work.
How was your holiday, Dad, with all your children and
It's good.
intense, I'm sure.
I don't think we did anything. We
Yeah.
just hung out.
But Christmas morning, how was that? Did the kids have a good feel?
It was good. Christmas over with, and then the
Yeah.
tree and all the decorations were gone the same day. We like to get it out of the house because my tree is right by the fireplace, so I don't have fires the whole time we got the tree going because it's just too dangerous. So it was cold. We got the tree out of there, hit the fireplace.
Very good, very good. Well, Christmas is for the little ones, I have to tell you now. I mean, 3
Yeah.
teenagers at home. My kids started fighting, fist fight. Julian ended up punching out Lucas.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Mine are almost there. They're getting, my daughter she's a wild thing.
Yeah. They are, but luckily, sometimes with daughters, like mine, got rid of it early. They go through these, and then when they're teenagers, they kind of settle into it. If they're too good when they're young, they're going to explode as teenagers. would go
Well,
up.
all these little pieces.
Yeah.
You dig them out and you go, where's this go? This was broken in two pieces, so we glued that together.
Well, you wrote on where it went.
What we did now, we figured it out.
Well,
So a lot of it was
you guys are the giants of the industry. When you took it apart, I'm sure you logged every piece.
Right, John. Remember John? Anyway, this was split all the way along here. We glued that.
Okay.
We're gonna glue that.
Yes, well, you know what? I used to actually really enjoy doing puzzles. And I would never use the photograph on the box. You just lay out the pieces. We had a system, and it's all by shape. And so it just takes a while, but eventually you do it, and actually you get much better at it. You have to ignore the color. Just go for the shape.
we've done that on a couple things.
Yeah.
Yeah, puzzle.
So I'm a very good puzzle person. If you need me, I'm happy to drive up here and
They were really ugly and delaminated.
oh yeah, that's nasty.
Okay, so we're going, can we wedge these open and glue them back?
No.
So instead of an hour, we still have junk, we just made new ones. Show them to you.
Oh, okay, let's go see it.
Over here. You can see they're nice and clean.
Oh yeah, and actually out of a real piece of wood.
Right.
Right, instead of a bunch of laminate.
They're nice, and it was a 15-minute repair. We just blew them off, cleaned this up with the table saw, and cut these pieces out.
So part of this was the old and part was the...
The rail was still good. You know,
And then how do you join the rail together? How?
it's in a little rabbet, about 1/8 inch deep,
Okay.
and we just epoxied it together. Done deal.
Very nice.
This is
No screws, nothing to hold it, just
This is the
epoxy.
little panel that's going to go in tomorrow. We're going to paint final coat on today. This goes in where the electrical goes.
Okay. Before
there's
the panel then gets mounted to that?
Yeah, because there's all these little holes and stuff, and we'll show them the donuts here in a little bit. Those
Oh, you
big-
mean this is like a laminate that's going to go over the old bulkhead?
Yeah, it's going to be inside the cabinet, hidden by the electrical, but it's
But clean, makes it look
Clean.
much cleaner. Oh, absolutely. Well, that's what we had talked about, doing some of that laminate on the bulkheads themselves, the big ones.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do with the wood laminate.
Right. So we had to plug those big holes where the gauges were in the cockpit.
Yeah.
So we made some big, thick plugs, like
Right.
big hockey pucks. Glued them in. So this will go in behind, and then Dave can put his smaller gauges. It'll all be hidden.
Okay, right. Okay, so the gauges were
We had to re-glue that whole bulkhead and fill it
And this is the
with wood that wasn't rotten.
plywood sub for the cabin sole part that we're gonna have to add. Remember where the closet was, where you walk through the closet?
Yes.
That's this area.
Okay.
So when this gets painted, it's that final coat today, then we'll just leave it like this because we're not gonna go hacking up big pieces of teak. We'll scraps from the deck we'll use on this.
Okay, so this is the top side. Actually. Okay.
Yeah. So when it comes time to actually,
And we'll put some teak inside the,
on this.
lay that on, glue that down onto that.
Yeah. So that's that.
Okay.
A lot of it's been just gluing stuff back together.
Sure, sure. Yeah, let's go take a look at the inside. No, I've seen a lot of clamping and a lot of gluing and
And I didn't talk about the varnish on the cabinets.
back up on top. Back up on top. Here we go. Look at that, nice walkway. Watch your head.
Don't mind that. That's just something I did on my off time.
Thank you so much. There's Dave. Hey,
Jerry?
Dave. Hey, well, we haven't really seen the panel too much. Maybe you're just putting that in, huh?
No, I'm just getting it up here. Start fitting it here pretty quick.
Wow.
Here's what we were talking about right here. That's where that panel's gonna get glued right here.
Okay.
But we're solid again. This is all delaminated. But this is a hollow. This little bulkhead's hollow.
Okay.
And it had foam, filled with foam, so some of the foam was gone, so we glued in 1/2 inch stock in here to make it solid again, and then we glued these plugs in here where the old
Great, so we don't need to
instruments were.
get in there anymore. We don't need to get
No,
in
this
there.
is gonna get covered with that one large piece you saw down there. We're gonna
Okay.
laminate that on. And then,
Beautiful. Solid. Oh, we did. We moved the panel from there to there. Yep. That's right, we did. The panel used to be in there. Now we're coming into here. A little bit more accessible, obviously. A lot more accessible, really.
The other idea I had, I thought about the other night, doors that go back on here.
Right.
But we cut this out.
Okay.
We replaced it with glass
With
or
a smoke
plexiglass.
glass. Plexi.
Yep, so when you shut it,
You actually could see it.
you can still see all the electrical panel. I've done that on a bunch of boats. So
That would be pretty cool.
yeah, I thought you'd probably like that.
Some smoked plexiglass.
Well, I like it if you're on the boat somewhere, you can just look at the electrical panel and see
You don't
what's
have to
what's
open
going on.
it. Yeah, yeah.
You can open it, turn stuff on and off, but at least you can look at it.
And say, oh, we're all systems go. Okay, so we'll put that in both panels then. Put that in both doors.
If you're going to turn this back into a liquor locker or
Right.
whatever you're going to do with that locker, you could do the same thing with that. Absolutely.
Oh, just make them both like that. Yeah,
If you want.
yeah.
But both of these doors. Will be
That would be
smoke
kind of
black.
nice. All right, we'll talk to Doug about that. Don't want to put too much more on his plate.
Oh, that's.
We're trying,
that's
because we got to put
relatively
this thing in the water this year.
easy. No, I heard you say something that we had until February, whatever, next year.
No, thanks. so
Oh, I
much.
heard something wrong.
Thank you. Yeah. I'd have those ears checked. All right,
so we're
look,
just-
there we go. Look at that baby. So I don't think folks back home have seen the electrical panel too much at all. So
And if you want, I can hold it up. You can see what the front of it looks like. Yeah, it's much easier to pre-wire all these before you put them in the boat. It makes it a lot easier to
wow.
do it out on the bench.
Beautiful, but I love the frame that it sits in. Very in keeping with the boat. Beautiful.
Yes,
Very clean.
I pre-did that all in the shop, and of course all that in the shop. I did quite a bit of lot.
Oh yeah, obviously. Right. I mean, this looks like this was weeks of work right here.
Yeah, it's time consuming, but it's
Right. The planning and all that. So what are you waiting for from these guys? Are these guys holding you up at all? I'm sure they are, right?
Not
No.
not them. Nah. Well, the only thing is getting that piece in there, which they're going to have in there tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'll start working in
Great.
there, but no, I haven't had to dodge them much.
And any questions that you have for us in terms of locations of fixtures or anything that we need regarding the toilet? I see it's out. The old toilet's out.
No.
The new fridge. and
Everything
stuff.
is pretty straightforward. All the 110 is all going to go back to the outlets where the outlets were.
Okay,
we're gonna
great,
have,
yes.
We're going to have a couple of additional ones from the inverter, but essentially all the 110 outlets are just like they were. All the lighting is pretty much just where it was, unless
Great.
we add something. So
Great.
there's not a lot of there. If we run into something, a question, I'll say, well, should we move this light a little further this way or that way, or mount it under here? But pretty much got everything planned to where everything's going to go.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to do as much LEDs as possible. If we can, adding stuff like, for example, if we can put a little light in the little storage lockers and stuff like that, where it was always dark, or maybe again in the lockers there where we didn't have it before, or again when we see the fixtures, we want to use the old fixtures as much as possible. But in the closets, let's say for example, if we can put in LEDs there, I'd like to.
Usually in small
Yes, sir.
lockers, I mean, it's almost more trouble than it's worth in small
Okay.
lockers.
Okay.
Worst comes to worst, you grab a flashlight. But
Okay.
in hanging lockers and things like that,
Yeah.
then because they're full of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
So, you open the door, it's dark, and they're full of everything.
Right.
You can't find anything. So putting lights in there is great. Putting them in every locker is,
Maybe not
it's probably
necessary.
it's more work than you probably benefit you're getting
Okay,
from it.
engine but lights in the engine.
Well,
engine room.
absolutely. The engine room's going to have plenty of lights. I'm going to replace those old big heavy ones that you had in there and put in some modern
Okay.
good ones.
Again,
Plastic.
LEDs if possible, so we don't have to replace bulbs. That would be the best. And also, there is a little diesel heater. Just want to make sure you know that. Definitely want that back in. Doug is always like, "You sure you want that heater back?" It's like, no, absolutely. It changes life on the boat having
Absolutely.
a little heater.
Absolutely.
So.
No, that's all going back in.
Great.
Yeah, and that's probably the only thing. The only thing, because the old radar and everything was here, which
Yeah.
is not going to be.
No.
The only other thing that was up on this bulkhead was the thermostat for the heater, and it'll go back up here. That was a nice ideal place right
Okay.
there for the thermostat
Great.
switch. So
Great.
it'll go back. Everything else on the heater will be identical.
Okay. All right. Great.
And the only difference on the heater will be now there'll be a circuit breaker on the panel for it rather than a inline fuse directly off the battery.
Okay, that's better.
actual circuit breaker.
Nice circuit breaker. Great. And anything? Are we all good with anything to know about anything special about running power here?
No, everything's going to be pretty straightforward there. All the mass wiring is going to all run up. Most of the wiring is going to come down on either side, essentially where this hose is. They'll
Okay.
come in underneath this clamp is where a lot of the wiring run will be done.
Okay.
Windlass wiring, all the electrical for the masts and all that.
So that's going to be our snake is going to come through here.
Yeah, so it's nice and hidden, but still accessible because you can get to it behind the cushions, and
Right.
it'll also be run on the other side. And then anything that needs to come up will just come up the frames, so you'll have a minimum amount of wire showing.
Nice.
Which is what
Nice.
I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Great. Now this one above here, of course, we will have wire showing for
Yeah.
this one here.
And what I did on my boat, what I try and do, and they did here too, is the wire will get clamped right up along the seam of the cabin top beam and the top.
Right.
So you'll see the wire, but
Okay. Yeah, that's about as much as good as you can do.
well, you can also go in and make like a cheek channel to cover.
Oh, that's a nice idea.
Well, yeah, but then when you get into a crown thing like this, I mean, you can do that,
Right.
but it's more work. But
Sure.
you can, I mean, you're going to have electrical wire showing.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work to try and hide it all. Just to give you an example of what it takes to rewire a boat.
Okay. So this is all of our stuff here.
No electronics, this is all just the electrical.
Just the wiring.
Just the wiring.
Very good. And then you figure you'll use a good amount of this stuff? You'll go through a lot of the...
Yeah, go through quite a bit of it. And maybe more.
And maybe more. Okay.
Well, now that you're adding lights and lockers and closets and stuff.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, yeah. Okay, but basically you have to rebuild this little frame right
Yeah.
here. Get this stuff all nice.
One other,
There's one under there too? No.
Use as much of the old stuff as we could.
Sure. Yeah. I see, that's right. This little frame wasn't here when we last saw it.
Yeah.
Right? No. Okay, so this is all looking good.
Yeah, we got this tied in really nice finally. You want everything to lay down. You don't want it rocking like
No, no, no.
this one. I was like, why is this rocking? Everything's straight.
Right?
But
What was
it's
it?
round. Look at look at the cupping.
The cupping here.
That's why
Yeah,
it keeps-
yeah. So what do we do about it? We can't do really anything about that.
We might be able to relieve that a little bit, or add a shim to that, or take it down. It's not huge, but I mean,
Okay, but there you go. You had to, that whole piece there had to be rebuilt.
yeah, the port side one there. More right here.
Yeah. So those had to be rebuilt. The other ones are just cracked and old and just,
Well,
or you couldn't find
old
them.
ones. I don't know if these are connected. A lot of them had weird shims right here, and these right here were broken,
Oh,
cracked.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So any ones that we could glue, we glued and reused. So
Gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah,
So that all fits nice. The purple or the mast step looks beautiful still.
you still got to put the screws in them and stuff, but just for purposes of walking up here safely, and keep these on for now.
And then each of those frame pieces will be screwed in?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then as you said, you had to clean up this a little bit, or this is now going to be cleaned up? This little, where the closet was?
Yeah, I think right here, we were talking about putting a panel right here
Yeah.
with either an opening hinge door,
Okay.
not a drawer of course, but
Or just a little way
That
to
would be a
open
good-
there and shove some stuff.
yeah,
in
that
there.
might be a good little locker for
Socks or whatever.
Yeah, stuff that's not going to get hurt by just sitting in
Okay.
there. We added an extra upright on that one. Remember we talked about that? That was just a.
Yeah, it was just open
We
there.
made a nice little upright support right there.
Okay.
What else?
Great.
Instead of making a brand new one of these,
Right.
it would have taken a while. I mean, this has a lot of weird geometry for the floorboards and whatnot, so we just
Gotcha.
glued that in
Gotcha.
there.
So good. Yeah.
Stronger
this
than
is
before.
All right. So the framing is good.
Yeah, just
And you're right. A little bit.
oh, we still got to get screws and things and stuff. So
Was there a reason not to have it screwed in yet?
well, we've got to do a little bit of painting, touch up in here, and
Okay.
just little things like cleaning and stuff.
Mhm,
So
Okay. Great. I noticed the head is gone.
yes, we removed that. Under box.
Thunderbox.
So shower, you wanted the shower gone, I think. We talked about that.
This unit here?
Yes.
Yes.
That'll be out of there.
Okay.
Did a bunch of laminating, like all the Formica that was all
cracked,
delaminated.
yeah.
Cracked. I mean, we laminated it back as best as we could.
No, and painted.
The tops along there were all delaminated. We laminated those.
It's looking good. It's looking good. But still our same old head, which is great.
Yeah. We have a bunch of shelves, and I have a whole pile of stuff down there. It's a lot of delaminated plywood and bits and pieces, so
Right.
we'll go through that when we go to put these shelves and stuff back in here.
Now, what about the holding tank? That's a thing. Is that, Dave, going to fall into your purview? Holding tank?
No, probably not, but I'll be involved in,
Okay.
discussions of where it's gonna go and how it's gonna go and that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
and do we know who might be able to put that tank together? Is there?
Well, there's several places where you can buy tanks.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be a custom made.
Well, it all depends. Depends on how big we go and where the space is it's gonna go in. I think it's Ronco Tanks. It's still named.
Okay,
I think,
Ronco, right.
watch it as seen on TV.
Right,
Different Ronco, but anyway, they make just scads and scads and scads of different tanks with angles on the bottoms.
We do lots of custom stuff.
Yeah. So the big thing is what you want to do with a holding tank is get as big a tank as you can get
Absolutely.
in the space that you got.
Yeah,
It's just-
absolutely. Frame, this would go too, right?
We're trying to keep that without having to rebuild a bunch of that area right there.
well, the other thing
Might
is
be able to
it gives you more counter space. And counter space is always a premium on boats. So I mean, the way I do my boat is my ice box, my working ice box, is doubles as a chart table.
Yeah, yeah.
So my idea too with Doug was to leave this as big as we could make it as far as the top.
Okay.
Because the main electronic piece is going right there and the VHF radio is going right here.
Okay.
So if you're navigating or doing anything, you've got some counter space.
Okay.
To work on.
Okay. So leave the frame, just finish it up and make it still somehow flip up so you can get to the hidden refrigerator.
That's what Doug was
Well, the
thinking.
lid the top of the refrigerator will be level with the rest of the counter, however this ends up.
Okay.
They'll all be
Yeah.
level.
So the top of the fridge will be part of the counter.
He was talking about incorporating that lid into the countertop where you just push it and it releases. I think that's the way those top loaders do. You
Yeah,
push them.
yeah. And the rest of it could be solid around it. Right. All right. So these are the original panels?
Yeah, masonite.
Right? Right. Now we're not going to go with those. We're going with
No, we're doing ceiling planks.
ceiling planks.
Yeah,
right.
so I put these back in, just kind of getting a feel for how things went.
Right.
And we can use these actually for our measurements of the ceiling planks lengths.
You have not done ceiling planks for these yet.
No, not yet.
Okay.
So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm not sure how past that last locker we're gonna go with ceiling planks. Maybe just to the little bulkhead there.
Yeah, we need we're going to keep the cabinet there, or yeah.
Well, I don't know. Your electronics can go. There's gonna be a
we're
panel.
discussing that, so we haven't exactly determined. No, you're probably going to lose a lot of this locker.
Okay, because what electronics are
The
there?
the main display, the 15-inch display, navigation
Okay.
display, is
Okay.
going up here.
Oh, okay. That's where it's going. Okay.
Well, somewhere in that location.
Gotcha.
It's all predicated on how the lid of the ice box has got to go.
Gotcha. But that's where we've decided is the best thing, not
Yeah.
on this wall here.
Yeah, back in here somewhere. I mean, the only other alternative would be back in this corner, but then you lose 2 lockers.
Now, what's the why not try to get it up on here where we want it to have like a TV, a multi-function?
Well, because
And that way you could kind of see it from up there.
You've got
So-
a repeater out there. You don't need to see it from out there.
But the repeater's going to be at the helm, right?
Yeah.
but
But-
we don't. A lot of times,
Yeah.
like especially at night, you're sitting right here. You have the boats on autopilot, and it's nice to be able to look down and see it right here.
But you were also talking about putting a regular flat panel TV in here.
Yes.
So, no,
Okay, so if we had the flat panel, would that be able to repeat what the other one has on it? Just as send a video signal out.
it's only got video in. I don't think it has a video out that isn't a Ray Marine product. In other words, it can repeat to another Ray Marine display.
Gotcha.
I'd have to look at that.
But it wouldn't be able to play on the flat screen.
I don't think so.
Okay.
They do have you can do it on your iPad. You can do that.
Okay, you can do that. Okay, so then at least when we're sitting up top, we can have the iPad that we're looking at. Okay, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
It's just you don't want to have to be like either going sometimes out into where the helm station is because that could be wet or raining, or then always like looking under here. So as long as we can repeat onto an iPad, we'll be fine. Okay.
It's gonna need to be re-varnished.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why also none of this stuff's put back in with screws.
Okay.
Because once they do that, we start building it, it's hell to try to come in here and have someone sand that off and revarnish. So
So you're saying
I mean,
all this wood is just kind of like laying there.
yeah, well, except for these aft ones, those were never removed. This fiddle was never removed.
Okay.
But like this, these pieces here, anything that could possibly be sanded down and revarnished
Outside of this here.
outside.
Right. Even the doors, right? We can take off all the doors.
Yeah, the doors too. That would be a good idea, but I think Doug got some questions on when we did our shelves in here. Instead of that brown color, obviously we did the white, and some of these shelves, I mean,
Yeah, better they just all go white,
you might
right?
want to do those white.
Yeah.
Anything that's going to be in a dark area.
Yeah, I think so. Make it all consistent. All right, we're getting into the saloon. Dave's getting into his wiring. Clean up these cabinets. Put in some ceiling planks. That should all be done by next time. This is getting ready for the windlass, right?
Yes.
Once this is painted,
Uh-huh.
we'll just glom it all together. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's up. That's about. How's it look on the bulkhead? Decent.
Perfect. I mean, there's a paper thin gap right here.
At the top or bottom?
The bottom,
All right, I'll take a little more out. Let me
a little off the top.
Don't hold it right there. You got her?
Yeah.
Don't move. Is it more or less center on the other blocks?
Yeah, hold on. I'm centered on the blocks. Wait a minute. No, hold on. Loosen that clamp just a little bit. You want to try to get the same reveal on the blocks here.
Okay. How's the bulkhead look?
Hold on, let me look at this. God, this is freaking hard. Okay, loosen the clamp right there.
Tell me when you're happy.
God, it's perfect now.
Okay, hold on.
You don't have to do anything.
Well, I need that pencil. It's in your left ear. I forgot to play. Now I'm just going to cut this off, see?
Yes.
So there'll be, see this radius on the beam?
Mm-hmm.
Cut it back to where that radius is completely revealed, just for looks, that's all. And then these two get chambers.
This is where you're
Well, that's-
deciding this is where the windlass
Yeah.
is going to go.
This is the blocking underneath the king plate,
Yeah.
which we made long ago, and it's ready to install. So as far as the windlass goes, it'll be more or less center line, but we can move it around this way anywhere we want because we're putting this plate that spans underneath the butts up against this bulkhead, and it spans these three beams plus the block. So this is,
Very strong.
oh yeah.
But you wouldn't want to, you're right, you wouldn't want to cut the beam though.
Oh no, no, no.
But you're saying it could go anywhere along there.
Anyway, because the way we're doing this, I don't like drilling holes in deck beams. You know, you remember those big holes back here and we had to sister these deck beams?
Yep.
Well, that's because they're highly weakened. So by putting the windlass up here, we can put it way back here or all the way up here.
Nice.
And if one hole goes through the deck beams, that's okay, providing it's not a very big bolt. I'm assuming these bolts are going to probably be 3/8.
But you're thinking we only need one windlass, one that can handle rope and
Oh yeah.
chain.
Well, on this
We did
part-
only before. We always had just one.
Yeah.
With dual purpose.
Yeah, and on this coast, out here, you want to use mostly chain.
Okay.
Also, the rope part, even if you're by yourself, you know, you put the engine in gear idling,
Yeah.
you just pull it up.
Right.
And you can,
You can just coil that on the deck.
if there's two people, then you got it made, because the guy back there, a couple hand signals,
Yeah. Come on, bring it up.
and then they can help the windlass. You're not pulling the boat with the windlass.
Yeah. No.
But the main thing is you want to spread this load without being ridiculous over a very large area, because the force on the windlass is this way, forward and kind of a twisting,
Okay. Yeah.
prying, I guess would be a better word, so that by the time this plate spans these three beams, with the blocking is not much more than compression, and then the sub plank goes in this notch, these notches. Then over all of that goes the king plank and the decking. So the maximum deck thickness, Dave said, for the windlass was 4 1/8, so we'll be right at 4 inches
That's the maximum because you want to be
for
able,
that windlass, yeah.
because you have to go through all the way.
Well, yeah, and now you can get longer shafts, but we're not going to get into that. Believe me, this is more than enough.
Okay.
This is, I wouldn't call it overkill, but it's certainly substantial for, because, you know, I've been out at these islands at night and it's blowing 60 out there, pulling on that stuff. So it's better be strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
All right.
Great.
So what's the verdict?
In what respect?
Are we going to varnish them before we put them back in? Say yes, please?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I would highly suggest,
Yeah. We want to try to make it, you know, as nice as possible, but it doesn't have to be you know, I mean.
no, you know, it's an old boat.
Yeah.
You see a couple dings here and there,
Yeah.
it's just fine.
Yeah.
But I would suggest you sand it out and wipe it real clean and use a satin varnish instead of the gloss.
Okay.
It's a much better look down below. Gloss is fine outside, but down below it, just your
All right.
eyeballs.
Can we do a sample?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because again, then I bring it to my director of aesthetics.
Well, it'll be the same color. It just
Yeah.
won't have all that bling.
Well, you see, and the whole boat is also a patchwork of colors, so we're not.
Sure.
We don't need to really. We're try to get it as close as possible. But
Did you show
Shelf
him?
bottoms, you all wanted, we were talking about all the shelf bottoms white.
Yeah.
yeah, instead of this funny red, whatever it was, just like
That's kind of a camel.
yeah, because I see even in the old liquor locker, it was white.
Well, why? When you open a door,
Yeah.
it lets light in.
Yeah.
When it's dark, like those shelves, it just, especially when it's being backlit by the portholes, it blinds you. You can't see anything. Now, did you talk to them about these plywood sub lids?
No, not yet.
Okay, and those plywood outboard doodads? Well, they're not plywood, they're actually real wood.
Well, the plywood lids, yeah, they were kind of lame and thin
Well, they're okay because all they're for is just
to hold the cushion. So we don't need to redo them unless they're cracked.
no, not the cushion lids, the lids down below. Remember that one we fitted the other day on the starboard side?
Oh, you mean that little
Shelf.
It's a little shelf for
It's right
inside the locker.
here. Yeah, and this one,
Yeah, like that brown one.
I mean, does it go underneath? We had a really hard time lining, like, where are the holes?
Well, I think it goes in there.
It would be
but
great if they were white, that's for sure.
That was my next thing.
Yeah.
They're bare wood on the backs.
Yeah.
So are these little rail things. So my suggestion is pretty common sense, and that is, before we put them in, we should just kill them with some acetone, any mildew or whatnot. A quick, hey, so we call a cab?
Yeah, did you bring your car? We'll get you. We've got a couple cars in front of you. We'll get 3 of our best guys right out.
Yeah, so all this should be, sealed with Smiths, and then just a single coat of white paint. You don't really see it, it's just protected. And be,
Well, like the
Yeah,
shelf
but you know
there.
what? Why not put 2 coats on? because you're putting down food and stuff like that, and you want to be able to wipe it off.
oh yeah, no, I mean in the stuff you'll never see. It's
Oh, okay.
out by the hull.
Like
Yeah.
this shelf right here. The backside of that shelf is just raw wood, and
Yeah.
this one, this lower shelf right here.
Yeah.
If you look underneath from down on the ground there, you see this just untreated plywood that's got mildew.
Yeah, exactly. No, treat it and paint it. You're right. You're right.
Get some Smiths on it, stabilize it. We got a bunch of cleats that are just crumbling, so we'll make new ones of those too. Now, did you talk about the flag lock?
No.
Like if we want it.
Do you want it, or do you want?
I don't think. Do we need the flag locker? It's better we have more space.
That'll free up a lot of space.
I don't feel like, I don't think any of us actually know how to use the flags.
No. It was mostly that's where we would put we'd hide our weed in there.
That's right, that's right.
That's the Colombian flag.
That's a Colombian flag.
Colombian and the Mexican flag.
Whoever lived there, that's where they'd stick their drugs.
Okay, well, all you need to know is the Bravo flag, the red pennant means dangerous cargo. And
You really
Stay
what you
clear.
need, you need a diver down, you need a not under,
No, it's fun. I'll put it somewhere.
it's just like 4 flags.
It's like these shells right here. We'll get something on those.
Now, are those
Bare
loose
wood.
or those?
Yeah, this is loose. Those are just sitting in there. right
Okay.
now. So
Yeah.
stuff like that.
But they don't need to be remade. They just need to be kind of sanded.
No, we'll sand them and reuse those.
Okay.
No delaminations in them, so stuff like this. Never had any paint or anything. We'll slap something on there.
Now, what is that? That's the back side of the.
That's where the stove
stove
box.
is, right.
Yeah.
Wow. Never painted.
I mean, something would have been nice.
Something would have been nice, right?
Wouldn't have mildew at all. There was some kind of paint on there.
And what about all these old hoses? Pull those through and
Yeah, those
replace
these are gone.
those?
Yeah, those will get replaced.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Let's see how our fridge is gonna fit in there.
Okay. And okay, so the fridge. We got to get the fridge. Did you pick one out?
25 and a half by 14, 15, 16. What was a 34 quart one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see the motor's probably, that much. That'll be behind the,
Okay.
and we'll have plenty of room around it to breathe. There's nothing back there.
And does it have plenty of? We have plenty of power for it.
Yeah, Dave's got, see, that's a 110 or 12 volt.
Okay. Beautiful.
So as soon as you plug the 110 in, it overrides the 12 volt. motor.
Okay.
So it's a no-brainer. So when it's sitting at the dock,
And you got shore power,
yeah, you can either leave it in 12 volt or 110.
right?
Because at the dock, if you leave it in 12 volt, of course, at the dock, your battery will get charged, it doesn't matter. And believe me, those things don't use much juice at all. They come on every half an hour for a minute or so.
Okay.
What I remember.
Right.
It's going to be quite a nice little sandwich.
Okay. Very strong, obviously.
Yeah, so we'll get paint
Very
on these.
important that that thing is super strong, right?
Yeah. See,
That's
now
all
this,
that's between you and the rocks.
that's right. And it,
We've never had a problem with it pulling out of the deck. We've had the anchor pull out of whatever you've set it into.
well, what happens, it's not going to rip out the deck unless something catastrophic happens. In that case, you no longer care. But it's just the years of doing this. The first thing to develop a leak that you don't notice. And the leak gets in the beam, you don't notice it. And you go, this deck's crunchy. Or it gets in the plywood, you know what I mean? So, and this is yellow cedar. It's very strong and very light. So we always, think about weight up on the deck area, whenever you can.
Okay.
And this is the sapele, the same as the planking, which is fairly hard wood to take the washers and bolts.
Should we order this? Should we order this unit?
There's the,
Talk to Dave.
that's the guy.
But you're putting it in.
Sort of.
He's just wiring it, right?
Well, we'll work together with him on it.
Where is Rich today?
Rich, the king of bling, we call him.
The King of Bling?
He's off until we get enough stuff for him to paint,
Oh, okay.
Like these little pieces. It takes 10 minutes to paint those little pieces. You don't have to call them again. But we have to paint them to keep moving forward. Like the electrical panel and so forth.
Gotcha.
Now, when we get to, well, now, for instance, now we know we're going to sand all the cabinets on. Probably one coat will do it. Varnish.
One coat of varnish.
If you don't sand through the old stuff.
Just get a nice grit on it, right?
Yeah, good tooth.
You don't have to take it down to bare wood.
Oh no, that'd be a big mistake. Because you get a lot of, there'd be a lot of different colors that come out.
Yeah.
Really looks funky then. So you want to keep it understated. And yeah, when we get to that point, which would be very soon, we'll have him come in and more.
Now here you're sanding. This is the bread. This is the sandwich piece for the.
Yeah, the lower bread is from the sandwich. This is going to be up underneath inside the chain locker.
Yeah.
You'll be able to see it if you're looking for it.
Okay.
So it's just going to be white. But same old story. You paint it before you put it in because it's easy to paint.
Right here, yeah.
When we actually go to put this torpedo sandwich in, we'll just put glue on all these pieces and clamp it in.
Right.
No fasteners.
Oh, no fasteners.
Right, not for right now.
Right.
Because now it's there, it's lined up, you can't move, then you can put your fasteners where you want. If you start drilling before they do. Yeah, so just
Now you've got tape on this because you don't want that part painted, correct? Because that's where you can put glue?
when all is said and done, the only thing you're gonna see at these two blocks
Right.
is this right here.
Okay,
And this thing's gonna be swimming in glue.
okay,
That, you'll see the entire bottom and the edges.
okay,
So that is painted all the way around except for the top,
okay.
which ends up marrying this with glue.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, a couple of days when it's time to install these, we'll just spooge them up and just clamp them in. And then let that kick off. It ain't going.
So this is all the blocking for under the king plank for the windlass. Beautiful.
This is the filler blocks and that's the plates.
And we'll see this all installed for sure next time.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Well, all this stuff here, except for those, is pretty much obsolete now.
All this stuff is obsolete?
It's not these ones here, but those
The
are
rails for the bunkers there.
Okay.
all this old chopsticks.
These are the chopsticks, right?
This is all done. That we're saving as a pattern.
Right.
Underneath, I think underneath the stove or the fridge, yeah. Other than that.
And what about like these plates here? This one here, where's this
Well,
from?
that's from, what is that?
It's from the, looks like maybe from the closet or something?
Say on there.
Galley.
Galley.
Where did this go? Oh, this was out against the hall, I think. See, it's old masonite, so.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Seems
go.
like might as well use that as a template to make a new piece.
That's why I put those other ones back in there to see.
Right.
So
See
we
it.
just take that measurement and subtract our gaps for our ceiling planks.
Great. So those are the rails, obviously, for the beds. Say goodbye to the pump toilet. What are we going to see in the next couple of weeks, Doug?
Welcome once again.
Let's get some appliances in.
You'll be sailing next week.
I'll be sailing next week. Thank you.
No, welcome to Fantasy Hour.
Yeah.
Fantasy Hour. Thank you. It's been 3 years of Fantasy Hour.
Not yet.
Yeah. Oh, not quite.
No. Yeah,
April.
April 17th at 2 p.m. Basically, we're going to clean up all the cabinets, figure out how they go, make ceiling planks,
Ceiling planks, right?
average sand and varnish them, paint all those shelves and seal them up on the back sides and so forth.
Right?
So basically, probably 2 weeks from now, you're going to see pretty much the same thing with a bunch of pieces laying around getting painted and varnished.